Well, the Ford car is certainly an unusual mini car in its class, and it certainly has gained a lot of attention in its first year of running, because certainly one of the things Ford have done to try and make it acceptable to the general public is actually put a rally series up and call it the Cow Rally Championship. And this round is actually taking place in Belgium, so we had to get over here rather quickly. So we came over on one of the fastest and most unusual forms of transport available, and that was Sally Line's Ramsgate-Ostend ferry.
This one is a very large craft. It has a length of 80 meters, 27 meters of beam, and for the new type of catamarans, it's a very comfortable craft now. The catamaran is the type of the wave-piercing catamaran, so once he makes speed, the bows will cut the waves, the bow will come down. That's the reason why we put as much weight in the forward part of the ship. The stern will come up and the ship will start to glide through the water. That's the reason why you have a comfortable ride on this type of catamarans.
We should be following the Welsh-based crew of James Phillips and Gethin Jones as they go through the pre-event warm-up to the rally, which involves a lot of pace noting and checking of pace notes. And if you've never seen that sort of thing before, it is quite interesting, because if you ever thought that rally cars just go around on unseen roads without knowing anything about what lies ahead, then you'd be completely wrong, because pace noting is really telling the driver what is lying around the next bend. So that's why they can fly around at the high speeds they do.
Well, there was a competition which was in Autosport magazine, which is a series of 5 questions, information about the car, and from that 5 or 6 finalists actually were invited to Boreham, which is Ford's Motorsport Centre, and there was selection through the day, driving competition, interview skills, and throughout it I managed to win.
Right, well obviously it's a nice bonus for you, because there's certainly a lot of money involved in this, and certainly if you bought the car yourself it would cost about, what, £20,000-30,000 to do?
Yeah, about £25,000 with the car and everything, and probably about 35 in total.
And have you been involved in rallying before or not?
Yes, I have, yeah. I've previously involved and did this rally last year as well.
So how does it compare to what you were involved in last year?
Well, I was doing the Skoda Trophy last year with Skoda Felicia, and the car, it's Group A this year, so it does handle very, very well. To be honest, it's the best handling rally car I've ever driven.
Well, of course, a rally car contains 2 people, the driver and the navigator. And perhaps the most key person in the car is really the navigator, because on a rally there's so many things to take care of, and the driver, after all, does what the navigator tells him most of the time. And here we have James Phillips, who is the navigator for Gethin. Well, certainly, James, you've got one of the hardest jobs that I know of in the rallying world. What's it like from the left-hand seat?
It's very good fun, but it is the hardest job. The driving part is easy. They just have a little wheel and some buttons to press. I've got to look after everything, the timing of the event, make sure we're going in the right direction, make sure we go the right way on the stages, read the pace notes to Gethin, keep a lookout for the service crew to make sure they're in the right place, and they need to know what work's required on the car when we reach service points. This is a detailed map of the stage, and again, this relates to the similar things. We have the tulip diagrams. And in the week before the event, we will now follow these tulips through and make detailed notes of the stages, which are the pace notes.
Now, how do you actually go about doing that? Because you're a little bit hampered, because you're not supposed to go over, is it 35 or 45 miles an hour when you're doing this?
That's right, and initially you won't go over that speed, purely because it's impossible for me to write quickly. And I write what Gethin will tell me, and he describes the road in accurate detail.
60, right 1, 100, long right 2, right 1, flat crest 80, 40 crest and left 2.
Well, a normal service area change here, just car coming in for new tyres and fill up with fuel and check oil and the other temperature gauges and everything else, make sure it's running quite well. And obviously the service crew have to do this on a tarpaulin. It's actually in part of the regulations that they cannot service the car unless this tarpaulin is down on the ground. And it's purely actually a technical thing, but also it's quite essential in the sort of weather we get over here in Belgium. Sometimes the ground isn't all that dry, so certainly it's very good for the service crew, and also it aids them if they drop spanners or lose nuts and that sort of thing, because as you can see it's quite a bright colour. But here you can see the suspension is getting attention. Just having those track control arms checked up there and tightened up. And obviously on a tarmac event like this, the suspension does take quite a pounding, so it's essential the service crew get to grips with any problems that might happen and make sure that things don't break before they do. Well, Gethin, that was just a fairly normal service check for you. Obviously, your crew are very experienced in making sure the car's running well, but what do you as a driver have to tell the crew when you come in for servicing?
The most important thing is to tell them what's happened on the stage, if there's anything that's happened through it, if we've gone off or if we've hit any particular potholes, just to make sure that the car's in as tip-top condition it can be.
And obviously, what about tyres as well? Because we were talking about tyres earlier on, the importance they make in the stages. What problems do you normally have with tyres?
Well, especially with the roads over here, because you do have to use the ditches a little bit to get you around the corners. You could have put a cut in them, which means it may go down later on the stage. Also, with the weather a bit changeable this weekend, we need to make sure that we've got the right tyres on for the conditions.
How do you keep track of the fuel in this sort of event? Because I know certainly on the fuel economy, the car is used quite a bit as a rally car, so obviously you've got to keep close attention to how much fuel you're putting in as well. How do you keep a regulation of that?
We try and run as little as possible. We know exactly how much mileage there is between each start of a stage and the next service point. So James keeps a monitor in it, and we put as little as needed really for that.
Before the event, Gethin and I have been around and located as many service points as we need on the event, and each one will have its own specific detail or location or reference point, maybe a shop or a pub that the service crew can pick up, and we'll see them after every stage at these specific points so that we know where they are and they know where they are.
Well, the gentleman who's standing in front of me is actually responsible for the whole Ford Car Championship, which is an enormous responsibility, I understand, and obviously you've been coordinating all this year. Kevin Shortis, what's actually the reaction been to the first year of the championship?
Well, we've been very pleased with the response this year. We've had a database I've got on the computer of about 299 people that registered an interest, and that's translated into some hardcore competitors out this year. And we've seen some very good championship rallying this year with car. Well, the rally kit is quite a comprehensive kit of parts, and in fact we've gone for safety and reliability and then performance. We like to see it as our entry-level rally car, and from there you could go on to there is a proposed another tier level of rallying next year perhaps, but ideally then you could progress into the Formula 2 rallying, and ultimately of course you may become Carlos Sainz or Jürgen Kankkunen and do well for us in World Rally Championship.